What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Jerome, and I'm here tonight with the review for this is Greenleaf. This is season 3. This is episode number 11, and we are 2 episodes away from the season finale of Greenleaf. And this episode was titled "The End Is Near." So without further ado, we are going to get the video started. All right, so the episode, it opens up when Lady May, she's at Calvary, and she's sitting in the makeup chair, and she was preparing to get her makeup done. So then Maxine comes up to her, and then, when Maxine comes to sit down beside her, that's when Lady May decides to open up to Maxine about, the whole Lionel situation, and how he might be Grace's father. And, she tells Maxine that this was back when, Bishop was messing with Mavis. And, I think she said that they had planned on going on a couples trip, her and Bishop and Lionel and his wife. And, basically Maxine is trying to, tell Lady May that with her doing what she's doing now, it's better for her to get ahead of everything before, it comes out and she's not able to control it, grasp it if it comes out the wrong way. So, I was actually here for Maxine, trying to encourage Lady May to tell Grace the truth. But, Lady May is just like, she feels like Grace is going to be like, oh, that's why you had issues you have with me, which, the truth being told, that is why you had the issues you have with Grace, because you're not sure who you're not sure who her father is. I'm not trying to say that word, but it's just because you're not sure who Grace's dad. Okay, so since some of these scenes kind of intertwine with one another, I'm going to put them together. So we had this scene where Grace, she was in Bishop's office, and she was telling Bishop that, Rachel Rochelle is Basie Skanks' half sister. And, she tells her about, Rochelle and her sister being put in the foster care system because their mother was put in jail, and then that their father was killed in the fire. So she just put 2 and 2 together that Rachel Rochelle is Daryl James's daughter. And, Bishop is just not believing anything that Grace is saying to him. And I'm like, why aren't you believing what she's saying to you? And then, he tried to explain how, he's trying to explain how, Rochelle has done so much for him with this cryptocurrency. She's invested in Grace's legal defense fund and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, Bishop, that don't seem too fishy to you? Like, this woman comes out of the clear blue sky, and now she wants to help you with your tax problems. She's helping Grace with her legal defense fund. Like, it just doesn't, it didn't ring a red flag, didn't go off in your head that maybe this woman might be too good to be true. Like, I don't get how he just did not catch that. So while he and Grace are in his office, I believe they were in walks the feds. So the feds are crashing, and coming into both Triumph and Calvary. And the reason why they're coming in there is because, they are they have a warrant, for embezzlement. What else was it? I know it was embezzlement. I know it was fraud, and there's some other stuff. And like I said, they're at both Triumph and Calvary collectively, getting all kind of stuff. So over at over at Triumph, the feds are talking to Jacob and Carissa, and they're asking if they have an accountant, and they're like, yes. So then the accountant's out there, and he's happy to see the feds. He's like, because he just sees some stuff that he's not quite sure what's going on. So then, he tells them that he wants them to see something. And then we move back over to Lady May and Maxine. So they were doing an interview. So the interviewee was asking Lady May, was Grace going to be speaking at date with Lady May? And she says no, that she's not going to be speaking. But Maxine is still hopeful. She says she may make an appearance, but again, Lady May is still shooting that down. So when they're having this interview, the feds go in there too. And, basically, and then they finish the interview. So Lady May and Maxine go outside, and Karina's there. And, they have everybody's laptops. They have Charity's laptops. They have Lady May's laptops. They have Grace's laptops. So Lady May sees Charity, and Charity is talking about, that Mama, they have my laptop. And Lady May is like, Charity, why don't you do something useful? And I'm like, finally, somebody tells us, like, one minute you want to be on Charity's side, and then another minute she's being her needy self. And I'm like, Charity, this is not about you. So then we see Lady May, she sees Grace. So she goes up to Grace and she asks Grace, is this because of, your whole thing with Cora Lee? And Grace is like, no, this is not because of Cora Lee. This is actually because of Daddy and his, whatever he got going on. So then, Lady May sees one of the FBI agents with her stuff. So she goes up to him and, she's telling him that, she has nothing to do with this. She's divorced from Bishop. She's a pastor now. So she has nothing to do with it. But he does tell Lady May that, your name is on the warrant as well. So then Lady May sees Bishop and Lady May goes up to Bishop and, they just start arguing back and forth with each other. And I absolutely understand where Lady May is coming from because Bishop did not think about anything that he was doing. He just, saw Rochelle's pretty face and just fell for the web of lies that she was spewing to him. All right, so then in Grace's office, she is calling that guy that, the lawyer that she and Richard Rochelle met last week with Cora Lee. And she's asking him how soon can he get to Calvary. So then we see him, he's at Calvary and he's basically telling, Grace, Carissa, Jacob, and Bishop what the feds have on them or what the feds think that they have on them. So basically what it is he tells them that, Jacob had one account and, $200,000 was taken out of that account and placed into this other account that they see that Bishop went and took money out of the account. Excuse me. So, Jacob is like, well, I didn't do that. That was all, cheap, dirty, blonde skank who did that. And then, Bishop tells Jacob to shut up. And then when, the guy telling him that Bishop took the money, he was like, oh no, Rachel Rochelle, she's the one that, she created this cryptocurrency thing for me. And, she has this app on my phone. So, let me log into it. So then when Bishop goes to try to log into the app, nothing's there because she has played him for a fool. And then, when he opened up, he was like, I'm getting an error. And then, Carissa and Grace both tell them that y'all got played by these women, like, which they really did. Both of them got played. But Bishop got played the hardest out of both he and Jacob. Bishop got played the hardest. So then, the lawyer's telling them, well, if they really did do this, there's always a digital trail. So eventually they'll be able to catch what they, find out what they did, how they did it, and, be able to prove that Bishop and Jacob really had nothing to do with this, and it was all cheap, dirty, blonde skank and Rachel Rochelle who did this stuff. All right, so then we see Lady May. She's in her office, and she's still upset about this whole thing with Bishop because basically Lady May was on the verge of taking over the church, but now there might not even be a church for Lady May to take over. So, Maxine is just trying to give Lady May some encouraging words and tell her, keep pushing forward. That's just the devil. When you get to something good, he got to try to come and take it away from you. And she's just trying to make her see the good in everything. So then she gets, Corrine calls on this, intercom and tells her she has a call from Lionel. So then Maxine is like, well, did you tell Grace that he might be her daddy? And she didn't tell her. And then she leaves out. So then we see Lady May. She goes by Grace's office. And Grace's, I think that's her assistant, Darlene. She asks Darlene, where's Grace at? And she says, Grace has left a little bit, but she will be back later. And, she was like, do you want me to leave a message for her? And Lady May says, yeah, leave a message for her. All right, so then we have this other scene where May and Corrine, they're in her office and they're talking about, these photos and Lady May's PowerPoint that she has, but, the feds have all her stuff. And, they're talking about how they can try to get it back. So then she gets a phone call from Aaron, and Aaron tells Lady May that his dad had passed away. And, he tells her, he was getting ready to do the chemo, but they gave him the medication for the chemo, and he had a really bad reaction to it, and he passed away. So now Lady May's like, whew, that's a relief off my shoulder. I'm like, God dang, like, the man is dead, and she's just sitting here thinking to herself, like, she don't have to tell Grace nothing. I'm like, May, come on. Don't be like that. Like, just because the man died, you feel like you don't have to tell Grace that may be her daddy? Wow. So then Grace comes into her office, and she's like, you were looking for me? And, she was like, oh, yeah, I was looking for you. She was like, I just basically want to apologize to you, for earlier. I went off on you for no reason. And, that was unfair to you. And I'm like, damn, like, cold blooded. Like, the man is dead and you still ain't gonna sit here and tell this girl that may be her daddy. Like, damn, May, that is effed to the up. I'm not gonna say the up, what the word is, but that's jacked up, Lady May, that the man is dead and you still possibly won't tell her that that's her daddy. So then we also had this scene where Maxine, she's rehearsing, and then Lady May comes in there. And, Maxine is asking her how Grace handled finding out that Lionel might be her daddy. And Lady May is like, well, you know what? I didn't tell her, because Lionel is dead. So, I dodged the bullet with that one. And I was so glad that Maxine told her what she told her. She was like, just because the man is dead don't mean that you don't have to tell this girl that, he may be her daddy. Like, go and tell her the truth. It may hurt, but tell this girl that may be her dad. Like, you don't want to walk around with that on you, and now you're trying to do something. You're trying to be a preacher. She's like, men lie, women don't lie. I don't know if I agree with that one, because some women do lie, and so I'm gonna leave that one alone. But I guess she's talking to May. I guess Lady May is listening to her, tell her just basically to tell Grace the truth. All right, and then we had this last scene of the episode where Lady May is looking at her PowerPoints, and she's going over the final touches of it, and then she turns around, and then she turns right back around, and Grace is right beside her, and Grace scared the shit out of her. So she's talking to Grace, and Grace tells her that Aaron came to see her, and she said, "Oh, he told you that his dad died?" And she said, "Yeah, he did tell me that his dad died." And Lady May is just talking in circles at this point. So then when Lady May gets ready to leave, Grace asks her, she says, "So is Lionel my father?" And Lady May says, "I don't know." I'm like, damn, like, that's crazy. So that means that Lady May was slept with Lionel and Bishop around the exact same time as she got pregnant, and she just didn't know who the daddy was. And never mind. Actually, I'm gonna go there. Bishop never questioned that. Never mind. I'm not even gonna answer that. I'm not gonna say that question that I'm thinking. All right. So then we get to Charity's old needy ass. So the agent, when they were taking the stuff from the Calvary, there was one agent. Charity goes up to him, and Charity tells him basically that her life is in his hands. I'm like, oh my God, Charity, like, oh shit, excuse me, like, you been so extra, but whatever. So then, they go into her Charity's office, and she basically tells him that, this whole thing about her being a preacher's kid, and, at one point she wanted to be an actress, and she took some pictures that, her mama had to get the pictures back, and, she didn't want anybody to see the pictures. So, the agent's like, what, I got to talk to my boss and see what he says, and, once I know more information, I'll get back to you. So then we have Charity. She's back in her office. She's on the phone with Carlton, and she's telling Carlton, she's just nervous. She doesn't know what's going to go on with the agent. So then the agent comes back. She's like, what? Got to hang up the phone. I'm going to call you back later. So then he does come back. He has a computer, and, he tells Charity that since those photos are not related to the case, he can give her the computer back. And then he says, but I actually have to look at the photos with you. She's like, you have to look at the photos with me? And he was like, yeah. She's like, okay, truth, there's really no photos. He says, I knew that. So he says, let's look at what you really want to see. So then we have another scene where Charity goes to Lady May's office, and she gives Lady May something, and May's like, what is this? She's like, it's your pictures and your PowerPoint. Is that useful enough? I'm like, well, I think she just told you, Lady May, but score one for Charity. I never thought I would say that. Score one for Charity. Oof. All right, so then we have Jacob. He is talking to Cheap Dirty Blonde Skank about what happened with the feds. And, how she's the only person that can pretty much answer any questions that the feds have. And, he's trying to get her to basically just come clean. But we see that Basie is there with her. And we see that Basie mouthed something to her. I don't know what Basie said because I really couldn't read his lips that well. But whatever he said, she told Jacob that, she doesn't know anything and she can't really help him. So then in his office, Carissa's in Jacob's office, and Carissa tells Jacob to tell her that he loves her. So, he pauses for a minute. He is reluctant to say it. But then he says, Tasha. And she was like, what? He says, I love you. And then Basie is looking at Tasha like, what is going on between you and Jacob? And he's upset. And then, old Richard Rochelle ass, she over like, see, I told you. And I'm like, girl, shut up. Like, I wish somebody would just, I know these are Christian people, but I just want somebody just to grab her by that little short ass hair, wrap it around a pinky, and just beat the dog shit out of her ass. Like, that's all I want, somebody just to beat the shit out of Rachel Rochelle. That's all I need. All right, so then we have Cheap Dirty Blonde Skank. She is, I guess, playing wifely duties to Basie, but she looks scared as shit when she's doing this stuff. So, she's basically telling Basie that she didn't do anything wrong. But, he's upset because, she's in love with Jacob. And, she was like, but, I thought you were dead. And he was like, I was doing it to protect you. But now he's like, I don't even know how I can trust you. And he's not sure if he will ever be able to trust her again. I'm like, shit, who really cares? Like, you did dip. I don't want to defend her, but you did dip out on this girl. And, she did think you were dead. So if she moved on with somebody else, although she moved on with someone who's married, but that's neither here nor there. But she, like, what did you expect her to do? So then we see the scene where Basie, he gets a phone call, and we assume that the phone call is from Richard Rochelle, because he's telling her, if y'all did what I told y'all to do, because Richard Rochelle is telling him that Grace is on to them, that she knows that she's his half sister, and like I said, he was like, well, if you and Cheap Dirty Blonde Skank did what I said and did it the way I wanted y'all to do it, we got the Greenleafs right here in the, we got them. There's nothing that they can do. So then we had this thing where Jacob, he's in the office and he's telling Carissa, he's like, you know what? I did sign that paperwork, but I just don't remember signing it. And then, he calls, Cheap Dirty Blonde Skank calls him, and she asked him, can he meet with her somewhere? And he was like, yeah, I can meet with you somewhere. And then she's like, I'm scared. And, he hangs up the phone with her, and he tells Carissa, he was like, so Cheap Dirty Blonde Skank wants to meet up with me. And she was like, you care about her, don't you? He was like, no, I don't care about her. So upset. But clearly, you care about that Cheap Dirty Blonde Skank, don't you? You know you do. All right, so then we had this meetup that was supposed to happen between Cheap Dirty Blonde Skank and Jake, but he did not meet with her. He actually met up with Basie. So, Basie just wants to know what happened between him and Cheap Dirty Blonde Skank. And he was like, nothing happened. Nothing went on between the two of them. But then he does admit that it was just a kiss, and the kiss meant absolutely nothing to him. And he's like, I know it meant nothing to you, but obviously it meant something to her, which he is correct. It meant something to her. So, Basie basically tells Jacob in a nutshell, you don't have to worry about texting her phone because I got that phone right here beside me, brother. So don't worry about it. All right. So next we got dumbass Zora and little light skinned Ike Turner DeBarge, aka Isaiah. So, Isaiah is getting ready to go to the studio. And, Zora's talking about going with him and, what she wants to eat. And he was like, oh, nah, babe, you stay here. And she was like, I can go to the studio with you. He was like, nah, man, every time you go to the studio with me, you look like you bored. And I'm like, he up to something. Like, it's either another girl there or he just don't want her to go. No, scratch that. It's another girl there he don't want her to see. So, he tells her, you know what? Go get your nails done on me. And then he asked her to get him a bottle that was under the cabinet. And I'm sitting like, nigga, is your fingers broke? Is your fingers, your hands, your toes, anything broke on your body? Like, you look like you're very mobile. So why the hell can't you go over there and get whatever the hell you want? But this little dumb blockhead goes and gets it for her. And I'm like, girl, you are dumb as hell. Like, Zora is the dumbest person besides Charity on this whole show. So then later we see a scene where Sophia, which we hadn't saw Sophia in about a few episodes. So she's at home and she's on, I think she was either on Instagram or Facebook, and she saw a video and some photos of, light skinned Ike Turner DeBarge with some other girl. So then she texts Zora about it. And then we see Zora when light-skinned Ike Turner DeBarge comes home. And she's like, who is this? And then, he's trying to weasel his way out of it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, girl, why are you sitting here arguing with this firecracker? Like, he might just haul off and pop the shit out of you in your face. So you might want to shut up. But, he didn't hit her. And I was slightly surprised that he didn't hit her. So, she asked him, so are we really together? And he said, yeah, we together. And I'm like, girl, you are falling for his line, sink, line, and hook. Sink, line, and hook. Because he's just playing you. So then, they start to make out, and I'm guessing they about to have sex. So then we see another scene where she's in bed with him, and she's still looking at this photo. And I'm like, little girl, if you don't get your stupid ass out of that house and leave him, like, he is abusive to you and he's cheating on you, like, that's a double negative right there. All right, so then we did have this scene, which I didn't know how to place it, but it was this scene where Darius came to Calvary when Grace was talking to Bishop. So he put Grace to the side, and he was trying to get information from Grace about this whole thing with the feds, and Grace got upset with him. And she was telling him, like, you want to do this story, but you can't do it because it's a conflict of interest, because he's dating her. And then Grace is telling him how the Skank family basically conspired against her family and her father to bring them down. And then she's like, but you know that anyways. And he was like, no, I don't. And he's like, but when you do find out, she's like, she's gonna find out. He tells her when she does to let him know. I'm like, so you can go and give this lead to whoever is writing a story on the family. So that's basically why Grace was upset, because she felt like he was using her to get information to pass the story off to someone else. All right, so next we had this scene where Grace, she runs into Rachel Rochelle, and she's going into Rachel Rochelle because, she's telling Rachel Rochelle that the whole cryptocurrency thing was bullshit and how the feds were there and raided Calvary, and that she knows that she is Basie's half-sister. And she was like, okay, what? But then when Grace was telling her about the cryptocurrency being bullshit and, the feds raiding Calvary, that's when Rachel Rochelle wants to try to flip the script and play like she's the innocent victim again. And, she's telling Grace that, her and Bishop, they were together, they had sex, and they told each other that they loved each other, which I hope Bishop did not sleep with that harlot. And, she's saying, well, you know what? I can't be your mama, but if me and your daddy do happen to marry, maybe I can be a sister to you. You would be a stepsister that I would beat the shit out of if you were to marry my daddy. That's how you would be to me, as a stepsister that I'd be ready to kill and beat the fuck out of. Cause I do not like Rachel Rochelle one bit. All right, so then we had this scene where Connie, she is in Bishop's office. And she's talking with Bishop, and she's basically telling Bishop that he needs to get out of the pulpit. And Bishop's like, I'm not going anywhere. And, he feels like that Connie is trying to boost up Lady May. And she's like, no, I'm not here on behalf of May either. She's like, I called an emergency meeting with the deacon board. And, we are looking to, bring in some other people to be in the pulpit. And he asked her who does she have in mind, and so she has some people that she's reached out to, and she's basically telling Bishop that this is a point for Calvary to have a fresh start. But Bishop is like, I'm not going any damn where, so you can do whatever you want to do. And then kind of like, basically it's not even up to you at this point, it's up to the board. So then we got Grace. She is looking for Bishop. And, Darlene tells Grace that Bishop was in the basement, and in the storage. And then she tells Grace that Lady May was looking for her. So then we have Grace. She goes to the storage to meet with Bishop, to find Bishop. And then when she gets down there with Bishop, she asks Bishop, did you sleep with Rachel Rochelle, and did you tell her that you loved her? And Bishop was like, I did not tell her no such thing. And he's like, he started to leave. She said, where are you going? He says, I'm going to go clear this shit up is what I'm about to do. Hell, the fuck you think this is? And then we had this scene where Grace is in her office and Aaron comes to her office. So basically Aaron told him that his dad left. And this is where I figured it out, that because, the way Aaron was talking, I'm like, Aaron must know that Grace might be potentially his sister. So we'll move on. And then lastly, we have Bishop. He goes to Rachel Rochelle's office, and he asks her, why did you tell Grace that we slept together, knowing damn well we didn't sleep together? And she was like, oh my God, Bishop, you acting like you must don't remember. She's like, oh, is this the preacher thing that you're doing, because I can play along too. And he was like, are you Daryl James's daughter? And she's like, yes, I am. So he was like, so you played me. So you played me with this cryptocurrency and everything. And he's like, I didn't kill your father. So she was like, I know you didn't kill my father. She was like, why would I fall in love with him? Why would I fall in love with a man and sleep with a man that killed my father? She was just really playing this whole victim thing all over again. I'm like, girl, if I could reach through this TV and slap the shit out of you, I would. Because I was just irritated and annoyed with her so badly. So, basically, Bishop tells her, you know what, you fooled me once, but you won't get away with this. And he walks out of his office, and she was like, I already did, bitch. And that was the episode. So we have 2 more episodes left until, like I said, until the season finale. This episode was so freaking good. Like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys tomorrow for How to Get Away with Murder. And we're almost finished with How to Get Away with Murder 2. Also, before I close this video out, so since How to Get Away with Murder is going off for a winter finale, and Greenleaf will be going for a season finale, I'm thinking about picking up another show, and I'm thinking about picking up Vanderpump Rules that comes on Bravo. It's the white people's version of Love and Hip Hop.